Okay, so last sort of OS of the lineup is Bazzite. So I've done Catchy, I've done Linux Mint with Steam Deck mode, I've done Cosmic with Steam Deck mode, and I've done Catchy. Yeah, and obviously you can look back on the video to find a Marchi. So obviously the aim of the game of this was to find out if you remove the operating system layer, the DE, the Windows, the desktop element of it, a desktop environment, and you just play through pure Gamescope, do you get the best performance? Now, it's some really weird results out of Catchy. If you look at that video, it was really weird with Doom, but better on Cyberpunk. Now, what I'm going to do is Bazzite. Now, I've installed Bazzite. I'm not going to use my launcher script. This Bazzite has a mode, and Catchy has this as well, but Bazzite's where you basically launch into home theater mode. So you're launching just like you would when you launch a Steam device, but so you're launching into the big picture mode, and then we'll do the test again. Now this is very interesting. We're just watching Linus Tech Tips. They're basically going to be changing over. 3 of them are changing over to Linux for a month, and it's bizarre to watch them stumble around trying to get games working, because they going straight into launching Steam like Windows mode, launching Steam on a desktop and clicking on a button and then it not working, and they can't get their heads around it. It's really interesting. It's like, just do this. You need to work out how to do this part, and hopefully you can integrate this further into Linux distributions to go, okay, if you want to play games, you do this. I mean, there are some caveats with this. Is you can't multi-screen it, things like that. There are sort of ups and downs, but it depends on what you want to do. Do you want to sit there and chat to your mates? Do you want to stream it? What do you want to do with the game? Or do you want to play it? Anyway, so let's just do Bazzite and zip through those 3 games and see what we get from them. So with that said, let's dive in. So I just push the power button on my computer, and this should automatically boot into deck mode. Now this is what I'm saying. You may not want this. I mean, I like the way that I boot to a desktop, then I can just super shift S, control S, whatever the command is to go into this gaming mode, but this is going to go straight into Steam, which works for some. And I had a lot of trouble installing this. They've got a new live ISO that they put on the website. It just didn't work. Didn't want to work on this system at all. So I've gone back, just beneath it there was a small thing that said use the old installer, and that worked perfectly. There we go, Bazzite, and we're straight in. So with that, let's just check what we've got. So Control 2. Over here, overs, I'll put 3 on. Advanced View, and I'll turn off the frame cap. Now you've got everything exactly the same as what was on my version of this. Let's just see it. So the first one we did was Returnal. Now, it hasn't found my external drive. So what I've got to do... Oh no, it has. It's found it. Okay, that's cool. It's just discovered it. That's good. So that is built in. That was a feature that was really annoying. So properties, let's make sure we're on compatibility. Proton GE. That's cool. It's found it. Okay, so let's launch it. Because when you try and launch this manually from command line... Oh, no. What's it doing? Validating. It's validating. What's that all about? And it doesn't do this on my other machines. I hope we don't have to go through this process with all of them. I thought that was going to start downloading. I was panicking. It's going to do it. Oh my god. Okay, interesting. Play. So you've seen from both all the other installations, it doesn't do that. For some reason, it doesn't do that validation thing. That's very odd. Okay, anyway, let's got to do these scripts and overlays, and that's a bit of concern. If that takes ages on Cyberpunk or something, I might have to rethink how we do this video. But yeah, I mean, I've used Bazzite a lot. When I sort of started to really get back into gaming on Linux, it was the first place to go, and I mean, it's got a huge take up. It's got a lot of people using it. What's going on here? And that's crashed. Okay. All right, what's going on here now then? Lots of stuff going on in the background. Whoa, right, okay. Let's just try that again. Play. I didn't like it, did it? Now, you've seen on the previous videos, it should just start, shouldn't it? But this is their execution of desktop mode. I've also set this did allow me to go to 4K. Don't know how they do that magic, and I don't want to get involved with it because it's tricky. This has gone to 4K on an NVIDIA card. But, I mean, this is one of the things about Bazzite. They've got built-in, okay, it's done it now. Built-in voltage. Oh, I didn't turn off the thing, did I? Yeah, so I need to turn off the shaders. You don't need them. It's weird using this. It's like I know my setup so well. I wonder if you can't do that. Can you do that from the desktop? Can you do that from the desktop? I'm going to let that one run, but we'll see if we can turn that off. We might have to come out to the desktop and then go back in again, because I don't want it downloading all the shaders. Oh, man. And we're there. Yeah, it is interesting. It's sort of my setup sort. I know it so well because I've done testing on it so much that you know all the things that are going to happen. I mean, these are just coming out. I mean, I should have switched that off, but it's just weird for me because normally you get to open Steam, you can make your settings, and you go into this, you go in cold. When it first boots, all you get is that QR code, you know? Here we go. What's it going to do? I mean, I don't know what driver version or kernel this is. No idea. Here we go. Blimey, that took ages. We've got the same overlay. That isn't the Steam overlay, by the way. That's Mango HUD. As I said before in a previous video, the overlay that comes with Steam, you can switch it on, but it's a bit flaky. I mean, they've even built in stuff that shows you if you're using frames and stuff. But I mean, it's clever, but Mango HUD's just quite basic. So if you watch the previous videos, anything 97 is the score that this machine gets every single time. Catchy, oh my god, Catchy, Amarchi, all of them have just hit, and Mint, and one more, Cosmic. All of them have hit 97 with these settings we're about to do. So what I'm going to do after this one, I'm going to just run this. I'll stop recording. I'll make sure the other games you don't have to sit through shader caching and stuff like that, so we can just get into the game and then do the benchmark. Otherwise this will go on forever and you'll be bored to death. Mind you, there'll be a lot of ads that would have run. So if you stay watching, that's great for me. But yeah, so we went, oh, let's see what's going on here. It's doing it, but it's doing it slowly. Oh, okay. That's only interactive. Yeah, the Linux tech tip guys are choosing. They did the thing 4 years ago and they failed terribly with it. They're all choosing a distribution and they're all going to try and play games and stuff. It is really interesting watching people. They're very technically knowledgeable people, just sort of not understand and not think about what they're doing. I suppose it's because it's so open. One of the guys who's used Arch is he's been using Arch and stuff like that, so he's quite a fave. But someone's chosen Pop, which is fair enough because it's great, and someone's chosen Bazzite, and they're just sort of trying to configure it with their hardware. I think one of the things that people do find is still a limitation is configuring Linux with hardware. So like capture cards, stuff like that. That can be tricky. Not everything, especially Bazzite. I think Bazzite's quite hard with capture cards. But I mean, normally there's a way. But the thing with Linux is like, as I discovered with Arch, you just write it. You write it yourself. You write the way to do it. You know. So that's like a rotor script to get Discord to work inside Gamescope. So yeah, you have to sort of, oh, look at this. It's gone to HDR. Why has it gone HDR in the game? Now this is a funny one. You can turn off HDR in the game, but it doesn't. I've turned it off outside the game. Come on, you can do it. It's already compiled shaders once. So yeah, I think what I'll do, I'll just run this one. I'll stop recording. I'll come out, I'll switch off the shader cache. I'll make sure we don't have to live through this again. I can switch off an HDR in this though. And make sure that those other two games don't have to do that thing. That's interesting, because all the other versions don't do that. That's very strange. Oh, come on. Now, so if you don't know about Bazzite, it's Fedora based. It's not immutable, but it's very hard to mess around with. I think that's the easiest way to explain it. Hold that down. Right, okay, yeah. Right, let's get rid of that. So settings, get rid of HDR. But anyway, video is that. Graphics, get rid of the 60. Put that unlimited frame rate. Come on, you can do it. Down here, there is an HDR setting. Enable HDR. Off, thank you. Okay, and now let's run it. Let's see what we get. So we were looking for 97. 97. Taking a long time to load stuff. I think I mentioned this in the previous video. There's a lot of something going on with my drive. Whoa. So let's see what we get. I'm hoping this will be the same, because it proves my theory that it doesn't matter what desktop environment you're using. It only matters if you tweak, like with Cachy, you tweak the binaries that sit underneath that. Because obviously we've removed anything from this that we need to, that we should interfere with the Gamescope session, with the game. Here we go. It's not looking great. 70s. Was it doing that before? It would be weird if Linux Mint comes out as the top gaming distro, because it's sort of winning. It is winning. Because it actually is winning, because it's still got the highest score on Cyberpunk, and Cachy had the weird score on Doom. So anyway, we'll put all these together at the end, but it's just, it could be Linux Mint is the distro of choice for gaming that we just never knew existed. Interesting. I mean, it's sort of, I can't remember what kernel Mint is, 16.6.17, something like 6.16. It's older. This is newer. And obviously the Arch, you'll be like 16.19 or something. But come on, you can do it. I mean, this would be, it would be a difficult way to do the last video if Linux Mint is the winner from those three things. I mean, Pop was in the middle. I mean, Marchy gets sort of same as Pop. I think maybe it's to do with the driver versions as well they're loading in. Maybe interesting to look at. Maybe NVIDIA's got an older NVIDIA driver on Mint, and there's a regression in a newer one. Who knows? What do we got? What do we got? 97. There you go. So that's exactly the same as all the other machines. So there's, well, with this, there's no benefit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop recording. I'm just going to check out the other games before we launch into them and make sure that you don't have to sit through watching stupid screens, caching shaders and stuff. I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so we're back, and I'm launching. I switched off the shader cache, and Doom doesn't seem to be doing this, so I just click back on. So what did we get on Cachy? 65, and it was like 85 on Pop and 85, about 85 anyway. So it shouldn't take too long. Hopefully we won't bin out again and get this verifying installation. These do take a while to load, don't they? I mean, it's interesting. You get Arc Raiders or something like that. It's the first time you run them. They're normally quicker. So Arc Raiders, it's like it does this big load in, and then it sort of builds. It's really weird how it works with online. It sort of builds the game in as if it's streaming. It's very strange. Some kind of technology there for loading. Come on, this is taking forever. I'm going to hear the fans go again. That's normally a good sign when the fans ramp up on that machine. You're normally something's about to happen. On my in my Steam Deck scripts, the moment you press Super Shift something to go and you hear the fans ramp, you know that you're going to be going into Steam. If it stays quiet, I know that my script's not working. Okay. And we are in. Oh, come on. Sorry, huge pauses in the video. Right, we're off. And apply. Yes. And continue. And settings. And at the top. And 1440. And vertical sync off. And FSR DLSS. And we want it to go to Ultra Nightmare. And we want maximum texture caches. Apply. Yep. So let's see what this one does. 65 was catchy and 85 was mint. It's going to come back. All right. Okay. Extras. Benchmark. Siege level 1. You'll see pretty much straight away what's going to happen. Here we go. Because it sits at the same, it doesn't really deviate from its frame rate during these. So if it sits at, I don't know, 80 to start off with, or bounces around from 80, then it normally sits at 80. There you go, 91. That's what I expected from Cachy, but we didn't get that, did we? So 85, I think it's 85 or 86 was the average on everything else. Cachy was the aberration, that weird score. Don't know what that's about, but this is what I'd expect to see. Frame graph like pretty flatlined, nice and smooth. Yeah, I mean, it's a huge thing, isn't it? When you start to do this and you realize, you sort of get your head around how Linux gaming sort of works, it becomes infinitely easier than command lines into Steam and stuff like that. It just works, it plays. And I mean, just makes it really easy to transition. And obviously there's other applications. I've done other videos, there's stuff like email and stuff to get around with Linux. It's just problematic, isn't it? The big one for me was shared mailboxes. It was a nightmare. And then Thunderbird, they released Thunderbird, and it meant I could connect to a shared mailbox with it. And that was me gone. That was literally the point I could move from Linux, from Mac to Linux, was sit only down to shared mailboxes. I do all the rest of my work in like Figma, DaVinci Resolve. Who cares what word processor you're using? Not interested in that. Spreadsheet stuff. Got Slack on here, so you got everything you need. Dropbox. I mean, on Marchi, it's all those toys I need are built in, so I don't have any problem. I can do Zoom. So yeah, so everything I actually needed on a workday is now in a Marchi. And because Marchi was originally lacking with gaming capability when it sort of first came out, that's why I wrote this script. This is all to do with the Marchi. 84. That's absolutely spot on. It should be about 8045. Okay, let's come out of that. Quit to desktop. So our last one is Cyberpunk 2027. And let me just double check. I did do them all on Proton GE, but let's just be properties, compatibility, Proton GE. Yeah. Okay, so let's just run this one. Yeah, so when the Marchi first came out, I mean, it's beautiful. It's very much DHH who sort of created it, did it very much for programmers. So it's very beautiful text because you type a lot with the program space. But as for the creative tools, there's none really built in. I mean, you've got OBS and not creative tool. You've got Kdenlive editing. So I immediately wrote a script to get DaVinci Resolve working on it. Then started to sort the gaming out because I had found gaming much, much easier on Bazzite that I was using. And also, and then I learned all the issues about desktop compositors, and it was a big learning curve to the end when I just shut everything down and went down this route of making the Steam Deck mode for things, and it's been brilliant because I can literally finish work, super control S on my Amarchi rig, do an hour or so on Art Graders or whatever I'm playing, super control art back out of it, and then shut down my system, and I'm done. Continue with that account, play. But yeah, it's immensely it's been a huge shift this year, changing over from Mac. I mean, I've been using Macs for 20 years, and they've got everything in it, but it seriously curtailed playing games. I mean, that's the hugest big problem with Macs. They're great creative tools that are utterly useless for games. Utterly useless. I know that they put Cyberpunk on it, but you can barely get that running at like 60 FPS even on my M3 MacBook I had. And that was, that were extra CPU cores, the GPU cores. It just wouldn't work very well. And I mean, there's nothing on it. And there's been a few things in the past. What have I managed to get working on there? What's it called? XCOM, that worked on there. But there's very limited. And then when they gravitated to silicon, then I think a lot, and then they changed, and they switched off 32-bit libraries as well. Steam, I can't remember what happened. There was one of the OSs, Maverick, or one of them went to 64-bit binaries, and then all the games from Steam didn't work, pretty much. And so you couldn't play, because you used to be able to play Black Ops on there, but you couldn't, when they changed it. So you had to stay on the old operating system. Right, in we go. So settings, video, switch off the FPS, cap, one back to Ultra, confirm, one back to DLSS Super Resolution, apply, touch anything else, and let's run it. Okay, so what we're looking for this is Mint was 99 or something, 90, but everything normally sits around 88, 87 frames per second. So Mac limited gaming enormously. I mean, it should be something that we should be able to just do. Doesn't matter, you shouldn't have to have Windows. You shouldn't have to have these different things to play games. It should be like a middle thing. And Linux is getting towards that now, where you can play most things. I mean, I don't know if you, and also I suppose with like the advent of stream, I know that's a contentious subject, streaming games from the cloud. So you've got NVIDIA GeForce Now. That can be, you can still play your Battlefield 6 games, but I mean, I was looking at GeForce Now, and they actually, there's a bit of a jump there. There's they sort of, you have to have a certain tier to pay more money to play those kind of games on GeForce Now. So I don't know. I can live without Battlefield 6. I've played so many of those games. I mean, there isn't anything compelling. There's nothing compelling. The only one I just want to try is Marathon. So, but I don't know if that'll come to. I want to try it. I don't want to, just the opportunity to ever play with it. But yeah, so I mean, it's an interesting one. There's very few things that don't work on this now, though. Even the old stuff, you can get it working via some kind of emulation. And the beauty of it is, because it's open source, people write tons of emulators, and like idiots like me that sit around and write loads of code for things to try and get things working, and then you just push it out, so everybody else can come along and use these things. Okay. 88. My money's on 88. Gonna get 88? What are we getting? 95. Okay. That's more than catchy. Okay, that is the same as sort of Mint. So Mint, the winner on 90, the first run of this, 98. But then the second run gave me 95. Catchy was 88. So that's really interesting. That's, again, another... must be down to drivers. It must be done to something like that. Why this is giving me slightly bigger score anyway. Confirm. Exactly the same settings. Okay, so there you go. I mean, I'll come out of that now. So there you go. That's Bazzite in deck mode, which is basically the equivalent of what I've done with Mint and Cosmic and Amarchi. And it's really interesting to see that all the scores are within the same area. It's the same hardware, nothing's changed. It must be a driver variation there. I mean, we'll put all of them together, all these little scores together, and it's just you know, it's interesting to see that it doesn't matter. But I think the takeaway is Linux Mint, right? With that deck mode over the top, you can play games just as well as you can on Bazzite. So when they say it's a gaming distro and, you know, you need this, but you don't. You just need to get the right tool to play the game and try not to launch your games via the Steam desktop app. There you go. Anyway, I hope that was useful. It was quite bizarre to watch that. I just didn't expect those results at the end there. But Cyberpunk normally always stays exactly the same on everything I ever do. It's like 88 frames a second. So anyway, as usual, thanks for watching.